Welcome to Picture This. We are here to talk about Home Alone 2, guys, and we're kicking off the holiday. It's the holidays. It's December. The year is almost over. We're kicking it off with the festive holiday feel-good family movies. So Home Alone 2 is what was picked for tonight. If you missed last week, Seth relinquished his pick to me, who I in turn then picked Home Alone to kick us off so we can get all the warm and fuzzy Christmas feels. But before we get to all that, as is tradition, Kayla, Dan, how are you?
Good. Having a great week.
That's good. That's good. So am I. I'm on vacation this week, so I'm not working at all, and I'm just laying around doing nothing. I'm on a staycation.
You seem pretty chipper, so
I'm happy because I'm not only am I happy about that, but I haven't really been doing anything, so I just been home alone. Pardon the pun. Not really interacting with anybody, so this is the first interaction I've really had in a couple of days. So thank you for interacting with me.
That explains crazy look in your eye that you have. That explains the crazy look in your eye that you have, sir.
I just get excited when we talk about Macaulay Culkin and Tim Curry and Joe Pesci and all those folks. This is one of my favorite movies, but getting ahead of myself. Did you guys watch anything other than Home Alone this week?
I think we all three did, Matt. At least one thing stands out in particular to me, and maybe it also stands out to you, is we finally went to go see Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Hey, yes, we did.
Yeah, man. So I'm sure we can do like a short round table on this as far as our ratings on that. Did you already, or you haven't talked about that yet? So for us, definitely a great movie. Thought it was a great sequel. Definitely brought back some of the oldies but goodies. Loved the casting, loved the story. Overall, I gave it an 8 out of 10. How about you?
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was exactly what I wanted or expected in a long-awaited sequel to this franchise. Paul Rudd blew me away. I thought his character was fantastic, reminded me of Rick Moranis, so that was fantastic. The podcast kid, he was awesome. He really helped he had fantastic one-liners in the whole movie. So he had me cracking up the whole time. But it was great. I mean, I would go watch it again. And I gave it a 9 out of 10 because I absolutely loved it. It was everything I wanted it to be.
And before we kick it back to you, I do have a lot of respect for this film for the fact that it definitely gave a little bit more to the character Ernie. I think that he definitely came shining through and is definitely going to be an integral part for what it seemed they left open for a sequel. So definitely interested to see how that plays out in the future.
Yeah, I think so.
The actor Ernie, the character Winstead,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry, guys.
I agree. I was right there with you guys, literally. And so for those of you who recall, I gave the original Ghostbusters upon my first viewing a 6 out of 10. I then I skipped 2 and the female version and went right into Afterlife, which I really, really enjoyed a lot. And coming out of the theater, I was about an 8 out of 10. And then I went back and watched 1 again. And then I watched 2. And then went back to the theater and watched Afterlife again. And so now I have a full perspective of that story again. Sorry, Melissa McCartney, but not sorry. My rating, and I don't do this hardly ever, but my rating on the original Ghostbusters has changed. My rating on the original Ghostbusters, I'm now putting about a 9 out of 10.
Wow, that is a bump up.
And I'm holding Afterlife at 8. very tempting to be 9. Just because and I feel like I have to, just because you can't have Afterlife without the original, and the original plays a huge part in Afterlife. You don't even really have to see the second movie even to see Afterlife. Like there was like nothing with the second one in Afterlife that I caught. But it was just, and then after watching the original in October when we did it, and then going to see Afterlife, I didn't put together the little nods and winks that they did. But not until I went back and watched the original again. And like the spoilers, just mild spoilers, the flashing cards at the first end credit sequence with Sigourney Weaver and Bill Murray. It was, that scene was done in the original movie with Bill Murray and his students, and a couple other small things that I didn't catch the first time I watched it that I caught the second time, and I was like, oh wow, that's cool. And basically the whole third act of Afterlife is the first movie. So
I almost think it's kind of funny too how you're bringing that up, things in the movie that you wouldn't have caught. Did you catch how they said in the first movie how only a ghost would stack books that way? And then when you go to Egon's house, there's a stack of books in the corner that's almost identical to what they have in the library.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't catch that. I know exactly what parts you're referring to, but I didn't catch that. See, there's more, and I'm sure.
Yeah, it might be one of those films with when you rewatch, like you just catch more and more little things. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was all there for it, literally, and I enjoyed it. So Dan, what did you say what was your Afterlife review, or what your rating?
Overall, I did an 8 out of 10, and the only reason I didn't go higher is it kind of hurt my heartstrings a little bit to find out how the original characters didn't end up staying friends or part of the Ghostbusters, and kind of everything fell apart for them. And they're running like stores that aren't doing very well. One secluded himself in the middle of nowhere, and it hurt me that they ended up that way. I know in the end they still came together to get the job done, which again I'm not going to go into more detail on that, but that's the only reason I didn't go higher on this.
Yeah, and we could talk about this movie. Maybe we'll do a bonus show. We could talk about this movie all night, but there's a small things I would change in Afterlife involving the original 3 showing up. But overall, it was really good. I think Seth, who's obviously not here tonight, gave it a 10 out of 10, he said, and just most recently again stated that he stands by that rating. So there it is. If you haven't already, we encourage you, go see Ghostbusters Afterlife. If you're a Ghostbusters fan, even if you're not a Ghostbusters fan, maybe you'll be converted like I was. So
yeah, it was fun. It was a fun watch.
Go for it. And it was very modern, and that's what I liked about Afterlife.
Yeah.
It's weird because I have to rate the first one higher, but I think Afterlife's kind of more my favorite, again, just because it was more modern and updated and, held my interest a little more. Did you guys see anything else?
Yeah, I feel like we did, but I can't remember. That's like a shame.
Nothing is standing out, to be honest.
Did we watch something? I feel like we did.
Well, if we remember it, we will talk about it on the next show.
Okay. Really quick, I watched You season 3. You guys fans of that show?
I am.
Such a good show.
I love that show, man.
I was a little delayed. Like normally I'm like right on top of it as soon as it comes out. I was a little delayed, and I just, since on vacation, like binged the crap out of it and watched it all in one day because I'm like that. But I wanted to get real quick because you guys weren't here last week. We don't need to go deep and drag this episode super long, but you guys didn't get to talk about Beautiful Boy. And more so, Kayla, I wanted your opinion more so, but because of the Chalamet factor. But just real quick, what did you guys think of Beautiful Boy?
I guess I'll go first. I'm trying to think of, like, I had all the notes in my head. I'm trying to think. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, sorry to put you on.
No, it's okay. So I watched this movie when it came out. I think when 2018, is that when it came out?
Yes.
And I had seen it. I had seen Timothy. Of course, I've seen him over the years Like, I think Interstellar was the first place that I ever saw Timothy in. And then I watched Call Me by Your Name, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love that film. And his performance in it is really what drew me to this Too Beautiful Boy, to watch that, because I was just, like mesmerized by this young talent, like seriously. Sorry, I love Timothy, so I'm not trying to gush too much because Dan will get mad at me. So watching this movie, so this is probably my second or third time watching this movie. It's always a hard movie to watch, because you get these real raw stories, and even though sometimes you can't personally connect with them, you still have an understanding, of how bad that would hurt you as a parent, as a child, what have you. So what I noticed the second or third viewing was the soundtrack. And I never noticed that before until this last viewing. And I was like, wow, if you can, like, the music they picked, like the lyrics itself spoke to each situation that Timothy, I can't remember his name in that movie. I can't remember it. Nick, yes. Into each situation that he was placed into. It was like the music to me is probably what was playing in his head, like his personal soundtrack. So I absolutely love that factor of that.
Quick question.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Did you watch last week's episode by chance of this?
No, we haven't seen it yet.
Okay. I literally mentioned that I was bummed out that you weren't here because I wanted to talk to you about the music of the film and the soundtrack and how important of a role it plays.
Yeah,
so
it was
awesome that you brought it up.
So whoever, like, I absolutely love when things like this tie together, because it creates like a beautiful thing, just not like visually, but hearing it, experiencing it, you get the whole thing together. For me, like, Steve Carell also, I think, nailed this role. There's one scene where he is sitting in the yard and he is watching all his children play together over the sprinkler. Yep. And you hear him laughing and enjoying the moment for what it is. And to me, I can hear, a father really taking in the beautiful people that he sees in front of him. And I was moved by that scene. I think that scene is something that really captures the whole film. Sorry, I don't want to get like too like it really captures the whole film of the struggle between not just Timothy Chalamet's character experiencing addiction, but you watch a father try to grip or understand what his child goes through, really in almost every single stage that his child, he goes through the grief, he goes through the anger, he experiences it hand in hand, and you watch his relationship fall apart, in front of your eyes. And I just really think that they did a beautiful job showing you the struggles of what it can do to like a relationship in general. I'm sorry, I went on way too much than I wanted to go, but It is just one of those films that is so vulnerable, so emotional. And even if it's just a one-time viewing, what have you, there's things that are going to stick with you that you'll remember from that film that, I don't know. Anyway, I give this film a 9 out of 10. I love this film. It's a hard watch, like I said. It's not something that I'm going to go back to every time because it's that difficult to watch. But I think all the performances in it, I think they all nailed it. I really do. And I think the way they captured it too is you see the struggle from each side, and it really was it's a touching film. It makes me honestly want to read the book. Have you read the book?
I haven't, but
Oh, okay.
I have because there's two books. There's one by
Oh, okay.
the father David called Beautiful Boy, and then there's one called Tweaked by Nick.
Oh, I didn't know
So
that. Okay.
and the movie was based on both books, and
Oh, okay.
I have Tweaked in my Amazon wish list. So
Okay.
so my little so I can go back and get it here shortly. I
Gotcha.
do want to read it. And when you get a second, I know it's not like high on your list of things to do, but go back and like watch last week's episode. At least just skip until like I start talking a lot, because when I'm reviewing the movie, because you'll probably laugh at how similar yours and I reviews are, and how many of the same words we used as far as raw and hard to watch and things
Right.
like that. So, Dan, what do you think, sir?
Is my input really needed? Is what I have to ask.
I'm sorry, I went on.
As far as this movie goes, there's a really, honestly, in my category of hard to watch movies, there's movies that are hard for me to watch because they're just terrible, and there's hard to watch movies because they pull, way hard on you emotionally. One of those I've talked about before is like Doctor Sleep. There's a whole thing in there with a child who's getting murdered, just to wrap that up, and it's really well acted. I really enjoyed the movie, but I will not watch it again because it affected me like so deeply. Like I couldn't get through just that part of that movie, and I dread it. And then there's this movie that did kind of the same thing to me. Like, I'm glad I watched it once, but it definitely puts you into the seat of the father, and maybe I can identify with this a little bit more. It's just that as a parent, you want to do what's best for your child. You go to the ends of the earth for them, give them every chance, whatever support, love, and at the end of the day, you gotta let them live their life. And I think that was hard for David to grip with. I think that, watching his son go down this road of self-destruction was, a terrible thing for him. Like, it wasn't just Nick that was living through the addiction. It was the people around him. And I give a lot of credit, again, like Kayla said, Steve Carell, strong actor. I personally am a fan of The Office. I've seen him in the character that plays Holly on The Office, who played the biological mother in this. You see her a couple times. I was surprised they casted her as well in this, and that they both had the kind of role that they did. Because really, to me, there wasn't really a comedy aspect at all to this. It was just, matter of fact, this is, fatherly love and really devotion. And I give the young lady that played the mother a lot of credit, or the stepmom a lot of credit. And I'm not sure how that story played out in real life, but she gets to a point where she chased, like, my favorite scene, the whole thing is that he's broken in the house with I guess his girlfriend at the time. They're stealing some things out of the house. He takes off down the street to get in the car. The father sees him, like, he walks up on them, and they just take off down the road. And his stepmom is just like absolutely had it. She hops into the van or SUV, whatever she was driving. She just chases them. And then she gets to a point where she just stops. I'm like, wow, man, that's huge, kind of, for what you do as like a parent. Like, you're gonna follow your kids to the end of the earth, but at the end of the day, you can't live their life for them. And I think that was kind of like a big moment for her too, and that was really well played, really powerful. I'm really sad I don't take notice of the musical scores in a lot of these things. It's just something that doesn't stick out to me. But as far as performance, really well done. Personally, I'd give this, I'd say, an 8 out of 10. But as far as like performances, very well done across the board. And definitely, I think, speaks volumes to just the struggles people go through with addiction, and honestly, the heartbreak and the the rebuilding in those, and the amount of work that goes through, because you're always an addict. And I think they really made that strong through Nick's character too, is like, you have people there to help you pick up, but you're always going to live this for the rest of your life. So
Very well said. Well, thank you guys, and sorry everyone out there. We went off on a beautiful boy tangent, but it was well deserving. I was really anxious and bummed out you guys missed last week, so thank you for that. If nothing else, oh no, we have news. I was going to say, if nothing else, we can get into what we're here to talk about, but we have news, but not a lot. So just sit tight here. Seth is not here. He's our normal newsman. So Seth gave me the news, so I will read you from his notes, and I'm just gonna bounce these off very quickly. Adam Driver has stated that he is open to returning to the Star Wars universe, which I didn't know that until just now. So that's cool. Mass Effect TV show is in the works at Amazon. Is that a video game, Mass Effect?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. Stephen Sondheim, I could be saying that wrong, a musical composer of West Side Story and Sweeney Todd, passed away.
Yeah.
So that's sad.
Rest in peace, sir.
Yes, indeed. The new Predator movie that's coming out, this has been reporting on, has been revealed is going to take place 300 years ago from 2022 or whatever it comes out. So it'll be
That's
300 years in the
interesting.
past. So it'll be before the Arnold movie. It'll
Yeah.
be set before that.
Wow.
So it's a prequel. Big news this week, of course, possibly the biggest news this week, was that Sony and Tom Holland as well confirmed that 3 more Spider-Man movies are in the works after No Way Home. So Tom Holland is sticking around for
That's awesome.
a little while longer, which, yes, is very awesome. Very excited about that. And then, of course, Magic Mike 3 was confirmed to be in the works.
That was from Seth.
Yes, it's in his notes. Magic Mike 3 is in the works. And I did see that earlier. Channing Tatum confirmed that online. I saw that article. And
How much more magic can Mike have, guys?
Oh, that
I've
last
never seen any of them.
It was awful. It was
And lastly, this news just broke today, a couple hours ago as we record this. Nicolas Cage is set to star as Dracula in the new Universal Studios movie Renfield.
Okay.
What?
I think
so
Renfield was the name of the guy that ends up visiting Dracula.
it's a familiar name to me. Yeah.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
No, that wasn't his name. No, his name started with an H or something. I have the book downstairs.
Well, we're not gonna wait.
But
We'll wait to see the movie, and that's it. That's what we're doing.
so there you go. That's all the news. Sorry to kind of just throw it out really quick, but we took, deservingly so, we took a lot of time on Beautiful Boys, so we don't want to hold you guys up too long to get to what you're here for, which is, of course, Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. I can't talk about Home Alone without doing this every time, so sorry. I guess I go first.
No, man, it's stats time.
Oh, yes, sorry,
Oh,
Dan, please
Give
take it
Matt's
away.
vocal cords a break, folks.
Yes, take it away. Give me a break.
Yeah, man. So we're talking about this beautiful, beautiful sequel of a movie, Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. Had a budget of a whopping $28 million. So this was no small feat, directed by Chris Columbus. Ooh, okay. What do we gross? We gross 173,585,000 in the US and Canada. 31 million of that coming from opening weekend.
Wow.
Gross worldwide, $358 million. So I'd say that we definitely had some strong return on investment there.
Yeah.
And it can be said that at the time, Mr. Macaulay Culkin made a $4.5 million off of this film, making him the highest ever paid 12-year-old in Hollywood.
Oh
so
my God.
check that out. He was making some money there. So part of that budget definitely going to him.
Good for him.
Well deserved. As far as run time on this, 2 hours. Believe it or not, there were a lot of things that they ended up cutting from this movie, some scenes because they felt that it may have been too long. Some things that unfortunately got deleted and will never be seen. So that's kind of crazy to think that. But overall, we have our star, Macaulay Culkin, also who plays, Kevin McAllister. Basically, his family's at it again. They're going on a trip. And unfortunately, Mr. Kevin gets separated from his parents and ends up in, you guessed it by the title, New York City. So he runs into a lot of star-studded cast. I know you noted Tim Curry in the beginning. Rob Steiner was in this, or Scott Snyder. I told you guys, names, actors, terrible. But definitely some interesting cameos. Actually, John Candy was actually set to be on this in a cameo. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. That would have been
I could totally
something
see
to
that.
see as well.
He should have been the uncle or the other uncle or
Well, he was in the first movie.
Yeah.
Oh, was he?
So I imagine he would have played probably the same character.
Oh, well,
Probably so.
obviously I didn't know.
But outside of that, I'm gonna save the rest of my interesting facts for my review. And Mr. Matt, since this is your pick this week, why don't you kick it off for us and tell us how you liked Home Alone 2?
This is a holiday classic, is a must-watch every year for me. If I had to guess, and I can't even guess, but if I had to guess how many times I've seen this movie, it's probably pushing 500 times, at least. I could quote this movie like the back of my hand without even trying. I remember when this movie was new and kind of just came out, and I was little, I was young, but I remember I had the action figures, I had the little Walkman thing, that radio Talk Boy, yeah, that he has in the movie. You know, they sold those sold like hotcakes, and those were a big selling item. And I had one of those, and they had like storybooks of the movie, and they had like those little books where you push the buttons and on the side and they make sounds. They had that, and I had one of those. Like, this was just a huge movie, and it's played a huge part of my life. I remember this came out 92. Yeah. So I was a little older. I was alive when both of them came out, but I was very young, very young when the first one came out. Whereas this one, I was just a little bit older that I can remember the hype around it, because it was so massive to kids and, in my life. So with all that said, of course, I love this movie. This is how you do a sequel right, but at the same time, I don't know that it could be done today without people complaining, because this movie is the exact same movie as the first one, just done bigger. I mean, you have the new character of the Pigeon Lady, who is obviously played by Brenda Fricker, who is replacing the Old Man Marley character in the original movie, as the mysterious, shadowy person that Kevin's kind of scared of, until, guess what? He takes the time to get to know them. And when he learns their story, both in the original with Old Man Marley and in this one with the Pigeon Lady, which I think that's her, I'm not being, that's I think her actual character name. I'm not just calling her a Pigeon Lady. I think that's actually her name in the credits. But he takes the time to get to know them, and usually they have like some sad story. The Pigeon Lady obviously is homeless and poor, and just she's had her heart broken a lot, and she's afraid to give her heart to people, even just friends, not even, I mean, in love, but also just friendships. She's hesitant to get close to Kevin because she's afraid that, he'll forget about her and he'll go on, and, so she's afraid to make that connection. And, so there's a lot of I say life lessons in this, and that, you take the time to get to know people, and people aren't always what they seem on the outside. The whole don't judge a book by its cover. And you also, the whole Christmas theme, I quoted this movie just the other day. My brother was talking about how he never sets up a Christmas tree, and if he had his own house like thing, that he wouldn't put up a Christmas tree every year. And I quoted, I said, "How can you have Christmas without a Christmas tree?" Which is a direct line from this movie. It's very heartwarming. It's very charming. It's again, like I said, it's the exact same movie done twice, but on a bigger level. So you get the extra characters of Tim Curry and Rob Schneider, and the Pigeon Lady, Brenda Fricker. which are nice additions and make the movie just feel bigger and, and almost better in some ways. And I tend to like this one better most of the time. I think the first one is my favorite, but the second one's my favorite to watch more, if that makes any kind of sense. And I think it's funnier. The booby traps at the end are more funny, and they're, the scene. We got to talk about the scene with the bricks. Oh my gosh. When he's throwing it doesn't get any funnier to me than Macaulay Culkin throwing the bricks off the roof and hitting Daniel Stern in the head over and over and over again, and Joe Pesci just dodging everyone. How many fingers am I holding up, Mav? 8. And then it's hilarious. And then the tool chest coming down the stairs, that was the sound of a tool chest falling down the stairs. So it's so good and so funny. I love this movie. I hadn't thought about what I was going to rate it. So I give this movie a 9 out of 10. I'm sure there was other stuff I wanted to mention that I didn't because I was on rambling street, but 9 out of 10 for me.
I want to go next, if that's okay, since you have a whole bunch of facts. So I typically don't really care for, especially the first one. I don't really care for Home Alone, the first one. I've always felt like there's so much hype around it, and to me, it doesn't really do it for me. But watching the second one, I haven't watched this movie in so long, so I could barely remember absolutely anything that happened in it. So it's kind of like watching it over again. And I want to say something, Matt, because you said something that I was thinking in my head too. Usually when you get a sequel from such a successful first movie, you kind of lose the integrity of that first film rolling into the second film. Same with TV shows. Sometimes when you go to a second season, it really loses that kind of charm. But I absolutely love this film. I was cracking up from start to finish. The whole scene with the bricks, I think I was like, my stomach hurt so hard from laughing. And the part where he touches, was it the washer or the dryer? What was it?
Oh yes.
Something in the basement where he literally electrocuted himself. Oh my God. And I'm still laughing because it was so funny. And my son was in bed with me and he was asking me what was wrong. Because it was so funny. Oh my God, like I still can't get this scene. That's like gotta be one of like the best like comedic scenes from start to finish, because it was just so well executed, and I really don't know how any of them kept a straight face doing that. Especially Joe Pesci, because he's always serious, and so I really thought like that to me is like that whole, that's what makes that right there, that's such like good feeling Christmas funny kind of movie that you don't get so often. I don't feel like, where it's like, you get good people in this that really fill out this role perfectly, that they're so dumb yet they're so mean, and I think those three together in those scenes are really the whole takeaway, like are the shining characters throughout this movie. I know Tim Curry's in this movie, he's a little pervert. That part was funny too. But there was one other part that I really enjoyed. Oh yeah, there was the part where he goes into the toy store and then he gives was it like $20 and he gets the 2 turtle doves?
Right.
But it was the guy, I guess, was the owner of the store.
Yep.
Was he a ghost or something, or did I miss something?
No, he
disappeared.
I don't think he didn't disappear.
Oh, did he go under the counter or
walked
something?
away.
Oh, he just walked away. Okay, I was like,
Yeah.
where did he go?
Yeah,
Okay, that's
no.
probably just like a misstep on my part. But I was
I
like,
think it
is
was
he a ghost?
the camera, like the camera did take away from him and then shot back to him, like Kevin turned around.
Okay, I thought it was
and
kind
he's
of weird.
gone.
Yeah.
So he was, because at the end he was talking about the
Oh,
money
that's right.
and he got
He
the
sees
letter.
the letter. That's right. Okay,
Right.
duh. I obviously didn't put that together. But yeah, I think it didn't lose its stride. I think this film was way better. I think it outshined the first one completely. And I think this is the sequel, that, like I just said, it was better than the first one. To me, it was. They really found their groove and they did it well. I give this movie an 8.5 out of 10. I really freaking enjoyed it. And I probably will watch it again next Christmas because it was that dang funny.
Wow.
I really liked it. I'm still cracking up. That scene I think will probably live with me for the rest of my life. I will look back at it and just think about all the marks he had on his forehead. Oh my God, I can't with that. I can't. Oh shoot. I was just gonna crack up.
We've lost Kayla, ladies and gentlemen.
She's gone. We'll return after a word from our sponsor.
I'm sorry, you guys. The electrocuted part has just got me. Okay, I'm gonna try to chill.
I'm gonna jump in here and take away from my lovely wife who's unable to compose herself here.
Oh Lord.
So this movie does something a little different for me. And it hits in a different way, and maybe you guys can understand, maybe you can't. This used to be the favorite movie of my father, and literally I just remember anytime it came on, he'd be sitting in his recliner and he would get to the scene exactly the one that Kayla's cracking up about with him getting electrocuted, and he would lose his mind. My father didn't cry a lot, and he laughed, but he never laughed so hard as he was watching this movie. It just freaking tore him up. And he would just go from start to finish, just like Kayla said. It was just one of those things. And I've always liked and really loved this movie for that it brought my father so much joy. And it brought me a lot of joy too, because I love sitting there watching it with him. With that being said, a couple things that you guys talked about, I just want to make a note on before I get into my rating on this. So the talk boy that you're talking about, strangely enough, did not exist before Home Alone 2. This was made up as a movie prop for the movie. In the movie, they go to the toy store. Each of the kids that were on the set, like there was an actual toy store this was based on, got the opportunity to pick one toy from the store and take it home with them. Kevin McAllister, or Macaulay Culkin, decided that he wanted the talk boy even though it was a prop. Which is an interesting thing to me, I thought. And then they started mass producing these things and they went crazy and ended up with people like Nat. They also made the talk girl for girls, because I guess you have to have a pink one for it to be for a girl, it's different. But
I don't really remember that, a pink one.
yeah, I don't think it was nearly as popular, unfortunately. Yeah, but as far as the movies or the movie goes, so Tim Curry, again, I love his character. Kayla had mentioned this. In the tub scene, they had the blow up doll, the clown. They wanted to pay a little bit of homage to it in this film. I thought that was kind of an interesting little Easter egg that they put in there.
Didn't even put it together.
Never thought about it. Right. And then try to think. So when they're going through, I think that the chemistry that they have is pretty good between the wet bandits or the sticky bandits and Kevin's character. One thing, like every time he's in a scene with Joe Pesci, he honestly seems terrified, and that is because he was actually terrified of Joe Pesci. Apparently he went up to him. This is one of their stories. That goes up to him. He's like, "Hey, why do you never smile?" And Joe Pesci just turns to him, this kid, and he's like, "Shut up." And literally, like later in an interview, like they're talking about it, it's like, "Why'd you tell him to shut up?" It's like, well, everybody else in his life pampers him. I'm not going to do it. And I think he respects me for it. And I think we have a good relation because of it. So, and Macaulay Culkin does, I think in later interviews, say that he was honestly scared of Joe Pesci. But I think that was in Joe Pesci's mind to create more of like that method acting type of thing where his response is real. Other people have done it in the past. But dude, Joe Pesci's a scary guy. I wouldn't want to be like toe to toe with Joe Pesci. But in this film, it's very comical. I think that both those guys did a fantastic job. Entertainment Weekly actually did a story on this to find out what would happen if a guy would get hit repeatedly with bricks in the head. Believe it or not, guys, if they got hit in the head with the number of bricks that Kevin threw from the height, they have proven this would actually either cause brain damage or death. So when he's like looking up and he's counting the 8 fingers, that could have legit happened. So if he was lucky enough to still be standing afterwards. So I thought that was really good. The budget, like part of the budget on this actually went to paying to basically make the artificial snow in Central Park. Believe it or not, after they paid for that, there was actually a blizzard in New York. So they didn't have to use, like, unfortunately they bought it, they still had to pay for it, but they didn't need it. It was a white Christmas. It was the only Home Alone film, I believe I was reading, that actually was filmed during the winter time and where there was actually snow. So that was an interesting fact. And then trying to think what else you guys were touching on. We talked about Duncan the toy store. Ultimately, all in all, a good movie, something I'm going to look back on probably years from now and be like, yeah, that was part of one of the movies that made my childhood. And I'm kind of different from you, Matt. Like Home Alone 1, to me, I agree with you. It wasn't as funny as this. I think this one did a really good job. I think it incorporated Miss O'Hare a little bit more. Like they wanted to build that connection between a mother and her son. Like instead of just being like, oh no, we left him in New York, like it wanted to build like kind of that in between them. And the last thing I want to say about this movie, for 2 things, the father, Macaulay Culkin's father, would not allow him to be in Home Alone 2 unless the casting agency or the production company or whatever agreed to put him in The Good Son, because he did not want him to be typecasted as this character. So I know I actually love that movie too. I think you actually like that movie as well. Very good movie, very well played out. And then Chris Columbus, when he was done filming this movie, go ahead.
And we will see that movie brought up later on this show next season.
Spooky.
I haven't seen it, so
it's good. And then Chris Columbus, when he was done with this, like he was looking for his next project. He wanted to get in comedy again. And what lands on his desk but Mrs. Doubtfire? So without that, without each movie, coming in the next, it's just interesting to me how each thing leads to the next, like for the actors and the directors. But overall, solid movie, 8.5 out of 10 for me. Will always be iconic. Great Christmas pick. Good pick from you.
Yeah, it was a great Christmas pick.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, there it is, guys. Home Alone 2. I'm sure everyone has seen this movie. It's almost impossible to find someone who hasn't, other than Kayla. But
Matt,
but now she has.
Did you talk on the episode about how you watched the newest Home Alone?
I did a couple weeks ago. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it might be worth to note that there is another one out.
Is it a TV show?
No, it's a movie. It's a reboot, remake, sequel thing. It's on the same. I was going to say this is on streaming on Disney Plus, which I went on a little mini rant last week. So about if you don't have Disney Plus, what the heck are you doing with your life? It's like $6 for everything Disney ever made. So stop being cheap. No. So and Disney Plus, as Dan mentioned, did just release a new movie, Home Sweet Home Alone, which was it was okay. I mentioned how my problems with it, which I won't bring back up again. But if you got nothing better to do on a rainy day, then why not have a Home Alone marathon?
And I was trying to figure out where that kid was from, the main character. He was the friend in Jojo Rabbit, correct?
Oh
yes.
My God, he was.
Okay.
He's very annoying in the new movie, and the new movie. Gosh, you're gonna make me go off on a tangent, small tangent. The new movie, the crooks that are invading the house aren't even really crooks. they're people. It's all one big misunderstanding. Spoilers, and they think that the boy has something of theirs in his house. They think that he stole this doll that's worth a lot of money. And so
Oh,
they're trying to get it back, and they think that he and his family are on vacation and they're moving and they're trying to get this doll so they can sell it for lots of money. And so since the family's on vacation, they're going to break in, get their doll back, and then leave. They're not some vicious thieves or, like, so when they discover that not only is he home alone, but now he's like set all these massive booby traps up for him. It's almost like you're watching these relatively, they breaking and entering, but relatively good people, good characters get mangled and beat up for like absolutely no reason other than the fact that
kind of makes you feel not so great, the fact that they're getting beat up, in other words.
Yeah, it just, I mean, that was that and the kid, I just were the two things about that movie I didn't like. But overall, I mean, it wasn't a terrible movie. I've seen worse.
1408 probably.
Vulgar.
No, I'm just kidding.
Home Alone 3 was the first one they did without Macaulay Culkin in like 97, was decent. And I think it was the last one that went to movie theaters. And if you watch that kind of not as a Home Alone movie and just as its own thing, which I know I kind of said with Halloween 3 and everyone kind of hated on me for that, but totally different situation here. But I would give Home Alone 3 a chance if anyone's like really wanting to do like a Home Alone binge, because he's not supposed to be the same character. Like, it's new character, new story, totally kind of different, and it's got a young Scarlett Johansson in it, in one of her first movies. So that's all I got. You guys, anything else on Home Alone?
No, thank you for recommending it. I thoroughly enjoyed that. I didn't think going into it that I was like, we literally watched it last night, so we had a lot of stuff, but we put it off, obviously. But I sat down in bed and I started watching it. I started laughing a little bit, and I started cracking up, and I was like, wow, this was actually, it was kind of long. A 2-hour runtime, it was kind of long, but really it was funny. No, I really enjoyed that pick. Thank you.
Yeah. So with that said, guys, that ends this portion of the episode. That ends kind of this episode. But we've only got 2 more episodes to go, kids. As talked about last week, we're wrapping up the season. We have 2 more weeks to go. And then we're going to take a short break so we can spend time with our families, so you can spend time with your families. And we'll be back after the first of the year in January, doing what we do. So, but those last 2 picks, those last 2 episodes go to the people over here, Kayla and Dan. So as is alphabetical, Kayla is next. Kayla,
Yay!
What is your pick for next week?
So I am veering off of the Christmas trend. I know we didn't want to do that, but my father really wanted us to watch a movie, and he highly recommends it. It is one of his favorite films. No, he will not get on the computer and talk about it either. He's not that type of person. And he probably, like, I'll try to show it to him, and then he'll be like, I ain't watching that. But anyway, no, but he's a great guy anyway. So my movie pick is going to be called It Is True Romance. It is the one with Christian Slater. It has what homeboy's name? Gary Oldman in it. It has a whole mess of people. Christopher Walken. Like I said, this is one of his favorite films. He recommends this like all the time. He's like, have you watched it yet? I'm like, no. But it is on HBO Max. That is where you can find it. Yeah. I checked like 2 nights ago, and I was like, I gotta remember this. But yeah, I want to see it because I want to be able to tell him too, you know, what I thought about it. And I remember growing up and he had this whole huge case of DVDs, like huge. And then he would always flip through and be like, that's my favorite movie. And I'm like, you know, I'm like 10 years old, can't watch True Romance, you know, and I'm just like, okay, cool. But anyway, I'm looking forward to watching this. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, and Tarantino's involved in this. He wrote the script, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised because he's a huge fan of Pulp Fiction and all that jazz. So yeah, I'm looking forward to watching it. I really like Gary Oldman as an actor. So I really am excited to see him as a bad dude, you know. This will be our second Gary Oldman, and he probably will be in another one of my films too down the road, you guys. But yeah, so I was gonna do Christmas and I was going to do cheesy, girly, romantic movie just to be like to you guys, you know, because we don't get that often into the Seth who's not here. But yeah, just so he would have to sit through it. But I didn't do that to you guys, so I really hope you guys enjoy this. And yeah, that'll be our pick, or that'll be our review next Tuesday.
But don't worry, guys. I'm gonna put a lot of thought into that last Christmas movie. Bring it back to the Christmas holiday. It's gonna be a nightmare for me to figure it out, but we'll see what we end up with.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Okay, sorry.
If you don't already, like, comment, subscribe, follow us on the social medias. We are on Facebook and Instagram at Picture This Film Reviews, and of course we are on YouTube, which I'm sure this is where you're watching this, youtube.com/Studio29 Films. We can't do it without you. Leave your comments. Tell us what you want us to review. Yes, we're ending in 2 weeks, but we're coming right back a couple weeks later, so have no fear, we will return, and we will get to your picks then. So definitely let us know what you want to see, what you want to see less of. As Dan likes to say, if one of us is talking too much, just tell us to shut up and we'll do that. We'll pull a Joe Pesci. Tell us to shut up and we'll, you know. That's all I got. We can't do this without everyone here. Dan, Kayla, Seth, who's not here, but thank you, everybody. Until next week, everybody, love one another.
Bye.